Hello traders, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you the #1 pattern that repeats itself daily and it will give you an edge over the market. I actually made a trade last week and I made $200 within 2 minutes. I actually posted it in my last post, but I didn't explain the V-shaped pattern properly, which I will do at the end of the video. Right now I'm going to explain what a V-shaped pattern is, then I'll go through my previous live trade and a few more examples. So let's get right into it. Let's go. Okay guys, I know this part can be a little boring and tedious and it's as if you're back in school, but I'm going to make this as short, as quick as possible. So, what is a V-shaped pattern? A V-shaped pattern is when the market drops really fast and then bounces back just as quickly and has a quick recovery, and essentially it looks like the letter V. So let me quickly just draw that out for you guys. So the left side is the fall and the right side is the recovery. So let's say price was over here, it dropped and then it recovers and goes back up. This means that sellers was in control and then buyers suddenly stepped in and pushed the price right back up. In other words, you can think of this like a ball. Let's say you have a football or a bouncy ball and you're hitting the floor. The harder the football or the ball drops, the faster it bounces back up. Same concept applies here. It drops and bounces back up fast. In day trading, a V-shape happens when price drops sharply on a short time frame and then rebounds very fast. It's like the market panicked for a second and said, wait, maybe I overreacted. Enough selling, let's move the other way. The V-shape is perfect for scalpers. So essentially a V-shape is when traders bring the price down towards support level, because that's where they know where a lot of buyers are. And that causes pressure, which causes the V-shape to form. And that's essentially when you see the upward momentum. So here is an example of a V-shaped pattern. Sellers took control and then buyers stepped in and took control again, and then there was a mini pullback and then there was a mini V. So this is how usually a V-shaped pattern will pan out. I'll show you more examples later down on the line. So you're probably thinking, why does a V-shape happen? It usually happens when people overreact. Sometimes scary things happen, like bad news, fake breakouts, and big red candles. Then everyone starts selling like crazy. And then once the price drops too far, buyer traders start buying the dip and it starts going up. And then once the price drops too far, smart traders start buying the dip over here, and then the rest of the market realizes what's happening and then FOMO starts, and that's when it creates a steep recovery, which is the right side of the V. So here is a few tips I have for when you want to enter this trade or figure out the V shape when you're actually in a trade, as it's easier said than done. One tip I have is when you're scalping, the intraday trade frame you should use is a 15, 10 or 5 minute time frame. And tip number 2 is enter on a confirmation candle, guys. I can't stress this enough that entering on a confirmation candle is very vital, as if there's no confirmation candle and in your head you're thinking, oh, okay, there is a V-shaped pattern. I think that there is a V-shaped pattern because there was a steep recovery and I can see a mini pullback, so it's going to be a V. No, that's not how it works. That is one step away to disaster, as it could be a fake breakout and it could just break down even further and you'll just be at a loss, and or even worse, you guys can wipe your account. So yes, and then tip number 3 is wait for a pullback if needed. That is what I usually do. I usually wait for a pullback after the V shape is formed. That is one of the safest ways to enter. And yeah, essentially wait for a confirmation candle that breaks above the last mini high. So here is the safest way to enter. So let's say the V shape pattern occurred and you're thinking, oh no, I missed it. No, you didn't, because usually after every V shape there will be a mini V again, right? And that's this pullback retest, and this is where you will enter. Some people actually do enter over here, and let's say they'll buy over here and just wave the trend, right? Or the safer way to enter is entering over here on the pullback retest. And then and this could be, for instance, your target, which was probably the resistance zone. Okay. So yeah, there's 2 ways to enter a V-shaped pattern. And once, I kid you not, once you guys master a V-shaped pattern, the market seems very easy and you're able to make good money and good trades when there is a V-shaped pattern. You're like, wow, I didn't know trading was easy. It's not easy. Of course, when you see V-shaped pattern, you're actually trading. You're like, is this a V-shaped pattern? But there are signs for a V-shaped pattern, which I've just mentioned. So I'm going to give you common mistakes beginners do, because I've done these V-shaped pattern mistakes, and I want to give it to you guys before you make these mistakes. You probably will and not listen to me, and you'll learn the hard way, but hopefully these common mistakes help you. So, common mistakes. One common mistake with a V-shaped pattern is jumping in too early. So essentially, day traders see a sharp bounce and then assume that the market is going to reverse. But sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, it could be a fake recovery and just drop down, and that's how you guys get stopped out. So on that note, a tip I would give is beginner traders ignore volume. If there is no volume backing the move, it's not a real shift momentum. It might just be a small pullback before the price keeps on going. So for instance here, let's say there was not much of a volume and then it's just a small pullback and just keeps going, right? That is why you should wait for a confirmation candle, like a strong candle closing above key level or an increase of volume, showing buyers are actually stepping in. For instance, let's say this is a green candle, right? It's just long. For instance, if the candle body is long, that is one of your confirmation. I don't know if I've mentioned this, I think I skipped it. Yeah, essentially how to spot a V-shaped pattern is usually there's a fast drop with a spike, and then usually before it recovers you will see a long body wick. You'll see long wicks at the bottom, long wicks like this. You'll see long wicks. When you see long wicks, that's when you figure out, oh, there is a buying pressure, but don't enter until there is a confirmation candle. And then also your third confirmation is that you will see a strong push up immediately after. So before I get into the live trade, I have some exciting news to share. So I know a lot of you want to connect via socials, however I don't have social media like that, and my Instagram is private and I'm not planning on doing Instagram anytime soon. So what I've realized, when you guys comment, it's very hard to keep up with the comments as I don't constantly get notification via YouTube. So I thought, why don't I just do a free trading community where I post blogs, and within those blogs you guys can comment of any questions you have, any comments you have for me that you want me to answer, and I will respond to you over there, and I've linked that down below. And no, there will be no signals, and no, I don't do Discord. I want to create a community where we support each other and like keep ourselves accountable with trades, because I know it can be very lonely when we trade, and if you want signals, I'm not going to do that for you. So yeah, especially if a day trader says, oh, I'm going to send you signals. Do you know how difficult it is being, okay, right, I've entered. And then if you, by the time you guys enter, the market could have changed because the market switches like this. So yeah, I don't believe in day trading signals. So yeah, essentially I built a free trader circle to keep each other motivated. If you join the app, you will get free trading articles and you guys can comment and I can answer your question and post more articles. And within those articles, I'll be posting insights and tips. Okay guys, I just want to quickly walk you through the live trade that I did that made me $240. I actually posted this on my latest post, but I didn't exactly discuss V-shaped pattern, which I'm going to do now, and then I'll show you other examples of how to spot a V-shaped pattern. As you guys probably know by now, my strategy is looking on the daily, figuring out what the market direction is, and using my MA for confirmation, and then I use the hourly, and then on the hourly I draw my support and resistance, and then I'm going to go on to the 15-minute time frame, which is the time frame we are on right now. So on the 15-minute time frame over here, we can see that there is a V-shaped pattern. You can see that it dropped, and then you can see over here, remember how I mentioned usually before it goes up there is long wicks, and the long wicks are over here, and then the buyer stepped in and it went back up. And over here on the 15-minute time frame, you can tell that there is a mini pullback. And remember how I told you the mini pullback is the safest entry. So over here, there is a mini pullback before it goes up. And then on the 10-minute time frame, there it also shows the V-shaped pattern, and we get a clearer picture on the shorter time frame. And over here, we can tell that there is some sort of pullback. And I realized that price was spiking up, and we had our confirmation candle. Remember I told you there should be confirmation candle of price action, and our price action was that there was a strong momentum of buyers, as we can tell from the candlesticks. So yeah, over here, as you can see on the 5-minute time frame, you can see the V-shaped pattern, and then there was a pullback, which was when I entered. And then literally I just changed my stop loss, and as soon as I changed my stop loss, I took profit of 246. It could have been 280, but by the time I clicked on the submit button, it was 240. But essentially, I literally could have made $300 just by using this V-shaped pattern. And as you can see, this V-shaped pattern is so easy. And because of that pullback, remember I told you usually when there's a V-shaped pattern, it spikes up very quickly. Same thing happened over here. You can tell after the pullback, it just wants to spike up. Right? This was the neckline, and then there was a pullback, and essentially, remember that example I gave you earlier? It's literally the exact pattern panning out over here. I'll show you different examples, so let me just log in quickly. Just give me a second. Okay guys, we are going to open the US Tech 100. I'm actually filming this on a Saturday, which is why the market is closed, but I can still show you examples. Okay, so let's go on to the 15-minute time frame. So over here we have a V-shaped pattern. On the US Tech 100, there is constantly V-shaped patterns. So over here, we can see that sellers took in control, which is why it went down. And then it touched support over here. Usually when there's a V-shaped pattern, it usually touches support. Like we mentioned, it touches support, and then buyers step in and it goes up. And then it had a mini pullback over here, so you could have even entered over here and it would have kept spiking up. So I want to show you another example. So let's say over here, right? This is a good example. Right? I was saying about common beginner mistake. Let's say you saw this. It's not a good V. It looks more of a U, but it looks like a V-shaped pattern, right? So let's say we saw this, and then a lot of beginners usually will enter right over here, and then boof, they get stopped out or wipe out their account by not having stop loss, and it goes against them. And they're like, oh, but I thought this was a V-shaped pattern. Yeah, it was a V-shaped pattern, but it doesn't always pan out. And so of course you had to wait for a confirmation. Like I showed you in my live trade, we saw big green candles, and that was our confirmation that this was a successful V-shaped pattern. Another example is over here. This is a V-shaped pattern. It dropped. You can see, look, sellers took in control, and then you have the big wicks, and then the big wicks, you're like, oh, okay, that's one of the characteristics. Doesn't always pan out, but majority of the time there'll be long wicks, which shows buyers and sellers are fighting, and then the buyers took control, and then it went up, and then it pulled back a little, and it went up again. Usually I would have entered over here, but then this was kind of slow. Let's find another example. Over here is another example. It dropped, and then poof, it went up. So over here, it's another V-shaped pattern. It dropped, and then usually if I was to trade and I was in this edge, I would have entered right over here, but it would have caught us out. But it would be like, oh, we're breaking even, blah, 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 it's even going up. It's going so slow. So a better entry would have been over here. And then we had our confirmation by this big candle over here, because this would have been our support level, and we would have drawn a second support level, right? So then we would have seen a confirmation candle and entered, and okay, it goes back up. So yes, it seems fairly simple. It is, but when you're actually getting into it, it's just like, it takes an emotional toll on you, right? That's just how trading is. Here's another one. This was a small V-shaped pattern. Let's find another good one. And yeah, look, over here is another one. This was more of a sideways V-shaped pattern. Over here, look, wow, look at this V-shaped pattern. It dropped, and then it went up. This is a V-shaped pattern. All of these are V-shaped. This is a, like, it usually happens time and time again, which is why I love trading the US Tech 100, as finding a V-shaped pattern is so easy to trade. Look, V-shape, it's a U-shape, look, V-shape, 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 V-shape. Like, it constantly happens time and time again. So yeah, hopefully you guys learn a thing or two. I know it's a bit boring. If you're an advanced trader, it's good to refresh your memory. If you're a beginner trader, this is good to know when you trade, as it's an extra confirmation step with your support and resistance. Like I mentioned, you don't just trade support and resistance. You want confirmation when you trade support and resistance, right? You need your confluences. You need your bullish engulfings. You need your patterns, such as V-shaped pattern. And if you master this V-shaped pattern, and when you find these V-shaped patterns, you will make a good win, and you'll be like, wow, V-shaped pattern, so easy. I'm not saying that every single day it happens, but it happens every so often. So yeah, look out for these V-trades when you trade. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If nothing made sense of this video, just comment down in the Patreon, and I will respond. I'll probably do an article explaining even further, as well as videos within the Patreon, as you can do videos on Patreons, and it's all for free. So yeah, if you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe. Ciao! Ciao!